We can't see you, but we can hear you very well.
Okay, because I thought I wanted to make it, but I can't put in the video, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elizabeth Bauer. I'm the head of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung for the Baltic countries, and I'm very proud and honored to have this event today together with the Eastern European Studies Center. First of all, I'd like to thank all the panelists who will be with us today, and a special personal thank you goes to the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Linas Linkevičius. We worked very well together for all the 4.5 years. For 5 years by now, I'm working over here. Thank you for being with us. And I'm very much fond of having all these very important persons from the committees of the new parliament with us today. First of all, I would like to thank as well for the good cooperation with the Eastern European Studies Center regarding the Lithuanian Foreign Policy Review. We have the new volume out this year, and it will be done now. It is done now. We have got to, which I was very proud that we could have 2 German contributions in it, which is very important. As I always say, we are very, very close together with Lithuania. So it was very nice to have the 2 contributions in the Foreign Policy Review. I'm looking forward for an interesting discussion now and listening very interesting to that. And I see that now Laurynas Kasčiūnas is with us and Žygimantas Pavilionis. I'm still missing Radvilė, but all the ones whom I not personally met up to now, hope to see you soon again in person. That's one of the biggest problems we have got in the moment, because politics is for people, with people, and one of the biggest things is to do the network, which we can't do in person, and so it's very nice to have it like that. And thank you, Linas, again for having organized it. And please, I give back to you now.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you for your thoughts and for your cooperation throughout the years. It's the 6th conference, and for the 6th time we have a close cooperation with the foundation. So thank you very much for that. Kadangi mūsų renginys vis tik tai turi ir pavardę savo pavadinime, Stasį Lozoraičio, tai yra mums svarbi istorinė jungtis su tarpukario Lietuva ir su mūsų diplomatija, kuri padėjo Lietuvai išlikti politinėme žemėlapyje net ir labai sudėtingų sovietinės okupacijos metu. Ir norėdami pagerbti šį Lietuvos diplomatą, buvusį užsienio reikalų ministrą, taip pat ir Lietuvos diplomatijos vadovą sovietinės okupacijos metais, mes paprašėme mūsų kolegės Astos Petraitytės-Briedienės trumpai pakalbėti apie šią asmenybę, apie jo veiklą, apie jo siekį suburti Baltijos šalis ir padaryti jų politiką kiek įmanoma efektyvesnė ir bendresnė, bei be abejo pamokas šiandien, nes nors kalbame apie praeitį, matyt, kad daugybė dalykų gali būti pritaikomi ir šiandien. Tai gerbiama Asta, norėčiau suteikti žodį jums.
Gerbiami ponės, sveiki, ir tikiuosi, jog jokių techninių problemų nėra, esu girdima. Ir sveikindamasi ir dėkodama už kvietimą, norėčiau trumpai pristatyti užsienio reikalų ministrą, Lietuvos diplomatijos šefą Stasį Lozoraičio, kuris savo karjerą tęsė 60 metų. Tai iš tiesų yra daug. Jis pradėjo 1923 metais kaip diplomatas, o užsienio reikalų ministru buvo 1934–1938 metais. Taigi tik tai 4 metus. Šis paskyrimas jam buvo pati staigmena, nes jis galėjo dėl to neplažinti. Praėjus lygiai 3 mėnesiams nuo paskyrimo, 1934 m. rugsėjo 12 dieną Lozoraitis pasirašė taip vadinamą Baltijos santarvės ir bendradarbiavimo sutartį kartu su kolegomis Latvijos generaliniu sekretoriumi Vilhelmu Munters ir Estijos užsienio reikalų ministru Juliusu Seliema. Sutartis buvo pasirašyta Ženevoje kaip pasitikėjimo pagarbos Tautų sąjungai ženklas, būtent šiai organizacijai. Žvelgiant retrospektyviai, svarbu buvo ne vien todėl, kad 3 Baltijos šalių užsienio reikalų ministrai nuolat palaikė ryšius, susitikdavo 2 kartus per metus paeilėje vienoje iš sostinių, tardavosi, diskutuodavosi, bet dar svarbiau, kad sutartis galiojo ir po 1940 metų vasaros, kai sovietai užėmė visas 3 Baltijos šalis, nes ji buvo pasirašyta 10 metų. O 9 jos straipsnis skelbė, ji bus pratęsta, cituoju, tyliu sutikimu, kol nustos galios vieniems metams išėjus, po vienos susitarančių šalių atsisakymo nuo jos. Citatos pabaiga. Suprantama, kad 40 metų Liepą prosovietinių Latvijos, Estijos ir Lietuvos liaudies vyriausybių posėdžiuose priimti nutarimai nutraukti Baltijos santarvės ir bendradarbiavimo sutartį buvo niekiniai. Tad bendrai veikdami jau netradicinės diplomatijos sąlygomis Lietuvos, Latvijos ir Estijos diplomatai rėmėsi teisinį pagrindą turinčiamis sutartimi. Reikia pasakyti, kad Lozoraitis buvo vienas iš iniciatorių minėti šią sutartį, jos pasirašymą 20-35 metinės ir tai buvo daroma okupuoto Baltijos šalių diplomatams rengiant bendras konferencijas, paskaitas, susitikimus su užsienio žurnalistais, leidžiant bendrus komunikatus. Taip norėta rodyti ne tik diplomatinį vieningumą, jie buvo ištikti bendros nelaimės ir nebuvo juos skaldančio pleišto, turiu minty Vilniaus klausimą. Diplomatai siekė tarptautinės politikos ir visuomenės dėmesio, norėjo dar labiau išjudinti savo tautiečius emigracijoje, kovai už savo šalių išlaisvimą ir tikėjo susitikti vilties okupuotoms tėvynėms. Tačiau, kaip pastebėjo buvęs Latvijos diplomatas Arnoldas Skrebers, minėdami Baltijos santarvės ir bendradarbiavimo sutartį, diplomatai galėjo atsidurti gana keblioje padėtyje. Cituoju diplomatą. Jeigu koks žurnalistas paklaustų, ar Baltijos santarvės partneriai laikėsi vieningai, kai sovietai primetė nepuolimo sutartis, o paskui mūsų okupavo, išėjo taip, kad sovietai nusisėmė vieną po kito. Citatos pabaiga. Priminsime, kad su Sovietų sąjungos savitarpio pagalbos sutarties jie pasirašė 1930 m. rugsėjo 28, Latvija po savaitės spalio 5, Lietuva spalio 10. Reikia pasakyti, kad Lozoraitis šiuo klausimu buvo įsitikinęs, kad sovietų, cituoju jo žodžius, agresija buvo smurtas, kuriam mes nedavėm mažiausio preteksto ir kur buvo įvykdytas laužant ir sutartis, ir teisės normas, bei moralės taisyklės. Kad jis buvo sovietų šaltai premedituotas, įrodo ir ta aplinkybė, kad agresija prieš Lietuvą, Latviją ir Estiją buvo atlikta 2 etapais. Pirmas 1339 metų rugsėjo ir spalio mėnesiuose Sovietų sąjunga, grasindama ginkluotą intervenciją, primetė mums vadydamos savitarpės pagalbos sutartis. Ir 1940 metų birželio mėnesį įsiveržė į mūsų kraštus, juos visiškai okupuodama. Citatos pabaiga. Lozoraitis teigia, kad tai buvo pirmas sovietams užpuolant Europą etapas, o Baltijos santarvės ir bendradarbiavimo sutartis deja mūsų neapsaugojo. Lozoraičio kaip užsienio reikalų ministro biografija buvo dar vienas skaudulys pamokantis. Lietuvos Lenkijos santykiai. Už diplomatinio dialogo su Lenkija paieškos Lozoraitis buvo apklijuotas prolenkiškomis etiketėmis. Kaip žinia, 1938 m. kovo 17 d. Lenkija įteikė ultimatumą Lietuvai dėl diplomatinių santykių užmestimo. Tačiau Lozoraitis savo nuostatų, kurias perėmė ir jo sūnus, Stasys Lozoraitis jaunesnysis, nepakeitė. Cituoju pastarąjį. Tu gali plieno valią turėti ir plieno kumštį, bet visuomet įsidėk aksominę pirštinę. Rusas yra vis tiek mūsų kaimynas, su juo reikia gyventi ir su juo reikia turėti santykius, su juo reikia prekybą. Turėti, ar tau patinka, ar tau nepatinka. Citatos pabaiga. Kitaip tariant, ir su nuožmiausiu priešu reikia kalbėti. Kumščių į stalą Lozoraitis vyresnysis trenkė tik kartą, kai sovietai pareikalavo Lietuvos pasiuntinybės Romoje ir jos šiems niekada neatidavė. Tiesiog pastato raktus perdavė Italijos užsienio reikalų ministerijai. Dar dvi svarbios Lozoraičio pamokos. Tai 1939 metų lapkričio 21 dienos memorandumas parengtas jau paminėtos Sovietų sąjungos ir Lietuvos pasirašytos spalio 10 d. savitarpio pagalbos sutarties. Memorandumą dėl Lietuvos egzilinės vyriausybės, dėl diplomatinio korpuso užsienyje veiklos, dėl lėšų, jei kraštas būtų okupuotas, parengė tuomet jau Romoje rezidavęs Lozoraitis kartu su kolegomis rezidavusiais Londone ir Paryžiuje. Lozoraitis memorandumą pats atvežė į Kauną, kreipėsi ne vieną kartą į užsienio reikalų ministeriją dėl jo sugyvendinimo. Tačiau įgyvendintas buvo tik vienas jo punktas. Tai yra 1940 m. birželio 2 d. užsienio reikalų ministro išsiustoje vieno lapo apimties telegramoje buvo įrašytas dar vienas sakinys. Jeigu čia mūsų ištiktų katastrofa, Lietuvos diplomatijos šefu laikykite Stasio Lozoraičio. Citatos pabaiga. Po keliarių metų ją prezidavęs Lietuvos pasiuntinys neslėpė nuostabos dėl Lozoraičio įžvalgumo ir planų. Deja, jie liko be atsako. Minėta, kad užsienio reikalų ministro Lozoraitis buvo 4 metus, o Lietuvos diplomatijos šefo pareigas jis ėjo daugiau kaip 40 metų. Tai yra iki mirties iki 1983 metų gruodžio 24 dienos. Šaltasis karas ir mirtis retina lietuvių diplomatų postus ir gretas. Lietuvos nepriklausomybės atkūrimo sulaukė tik 3 jo kolegos, su kuriais jis dirbo dar iki 1940 metų, o šie dirbo ir po 1990-ųjų. Lozoraitis pažinojo, pabrėžė, kad jis turėjo talentą išlaikyti, sutelkti diplomatus, nežiūrint finansinių ir psichologinių problemų. Davė toną visos diplomatinės tarnybos, aš pabrėžiu, oriai laikysenai ir išsaugo jos mundurą švarų. Svarbiausia buvo išsaugotas jos tęstinumas. Cituojant paties Lozoraičio žodžius apie diplomatinę tarnybą, citatos pradžia. Ginti lietuvių teises ir dirbti Lietuvos valstybės nepriklausomybės atstatymui, kas yra mums svarbiausias, vyriausias įstatymas ir vienintelė mūsų egzistencijos prasmė. Citatos pabaiga. Skaitant Lozoraičio viešų kalbų tekstus, interviu ar privačią korespondenciją, galima pastebėti, kad jis nedarė atskirties tarp lietuvių krašte ir lietuvių migracijoje. Pastebimas didesnis dėmesys lietuviams krašte tik todėl, kad jie buvo nelaisvėje. O susiskaldžiusius politikuojančius lietuvius išeiviją Lozoraitis žiūrėjo paprastai. Svarbiausia pačiam neapsirgti, kai kiti serga ir negydant gyvenimo negerovių. Didžiausias savo viltis Lozoraitis dėjo jaunąją kartą, nesvarbu, kurioje krašte ji būtų, tėvynėje ar emigracijoje. Gindamas Lietuvos interesus, Lozoraitis nevengė kritikuoti tarptautinę situaciją, apibūdinti ją kaip egoistinę ir oportunistinę, o sovietų okupaciją krašte jis atvirai vadino neteisybę ir absurdu, kurie nesuderinami nei su teisingumu, nei su sveiku protu. Pasak diplomato, citatos pradžia, sovietai negali išlaikyti, nepadarė periodiniai kokio agresinio žingsnio sukeliančio pasaulio nerimą ir priešingas sovietams nuotaikas. Citatos pabaiga. O tai pasitarnauja Lietuvos laisvės bylai. Tai žodžiai pasakyti 1968 metų rudenį, tai yra po Prahos pavasario. Būtent žodis buvo Lozoraičio ginklas ne tik kovojant už Lietuvos laisvę, nes nepakanka dėkoti Jungtinėms Amerikos valstijoms už krašto okupacijos nepripažinimą, o reikia dėtis į bendrą kovą su ja prieš sovietinį smurtą ir propagandą. Pasak Lozoraičio, blogis mėgsta tylą, tad reikia kalbėti, neleisti sovietams skleisti melą, versti, pratinti pasaulį susitaikyti su įvykdytų ar vykdomų jų smurtu, užmiršti jų padarytas skriaudas. Kitaip tariant, tarptautinės situacijos vienu metu nepakeisi, bet nuolaidžiauti ir tylėti yra nusikaltimas. Reikia dalykus vadinti tikrai svarbiais. Okupuota Lietuva yra okupuota. Sovietų sąjunga yra agresorė, kuri nesusitvarko savo kieme. Kitaip tariant, gerbti lietuvių ūkininką, bet kolūkį vadinti kolkosu. Kalbėti, pasakoti apie Lozoraičio kaip užsienio reikalų ministro ir Lietuvos diplomatijos veiklą ir kovą galima daug. Į klausimą, ar sunku tokias pareigas eiti, Lozoraitis atsakė, citatos pradžia, kad šio darbas nėra sunkus, nes nėra sunki atlikti jokia pareiga, kol esi įsitikinęs reikalą su teisingumu. Tai ne tik diplomato, bet ir valstybininko atsakymas. Ačiū klaususiems.
Ačiū labai gerbiamai Astai. I'll again say it in English, unfortunately. We still don't have an English translation, but I have asked the next speaker, our Minister of Foreign Affairs from 2012 to 2020, Linas Linkevičius, to be speaking in English. So we will try to solve the problem this way. Again, sorry about the technical issues. Minister, thank you very much for your work, and please share your thoughts with us. Thank you very much. You have up to 10 minutes for that.
Yeah, thank you, Linas, and I hope you hear me, right? Because you cannot see me.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity, and also thanks to Elizabeth for nice words and all colleagues joining here. And well, it's very difficult to outline all thoughts I'd like to express because we're just discussing not just the legacy of Lozoraitis. I believe we're more looking at the current affairs and what are the challenges for Foreign Office today. And definitely I'd like to single out maybe tensions and those problems which we are facing, inherited from the past, but definitely will be continued in the future. I'm really quite concerned about tensions which are in transatlantic area. So here we have opportunity to remedy, maybe even to improve. After new administration coming in the United States, we knew that all these relations were quite, well, let's say pragmatic, but nevertheless, we understood that that was not so easy to talk about NATO and EU cooperation. It was not so easy or even not possible to address some other global challenges, like climate, for instance. It was not possible at all to discuss trade issues, and multilateralism in general was also challenged. So everything, some kind of collateral damage was also for us. Although I would like to say that regarding our region, regarding our Lithuanian and US relations, we even could trace some improvement, and the presence of US in our region was much stronger, more visible, tangible, and here this is really something we would like to continue and preserve. So, but nevertheless, these tensions are existing, and this is also applicable to our tasks for the future. Also, when we're talking about relations with neighbors, exactly what was told by Asta about the legacy of Lozoraitis, relations with neighbors was always difficult, always complicated, especially with these big neighbors, and this is not exceptional. We also having very difficult now situation in relations with Russia and also with Belarus. Well, one can say that Belarus is also kind of part of Russia de facto and becoming more and more, unfortunately. But nevertheless, this is really something we should look at very carefully. On one hand, again, pragmatism, because we also have trade relations, trade interests, economic interests with both these countries, and on the other hand, political issues which are becoming even more complicated. And here we need not only to take, so to say, our national steps and measures, but definitely have to build consensus, allies, and common positions in our international organizations. Here is not so easy to do because other countries also have some pragmatic interests, also economic interests and others. And this is remaining a big challenge. Also, one more tension I would like to mention is fatigue among our friends regarding Eastern policies. And here is again nothing new because these conflicts are taking place for a long time. No need to look long back to the past, but even mentioning war in South Caucasus in 2008, annexation of Crimea 2014, other frozen conflicts where our big neighbor Russia taking part not as a crisis manager, but as a crisis maker rather. And here the role of Russia, again, not a manager of the crisis, but stakeholder, but not a partner. And here, a very difficult situation also for us. Well, again, comparing with the Lozoraitis time, when Lithuania was not a member of these big influential international organizations, so it was very difficult to maneuver. For us now, it's much easier. We are members of NATO, European Union. We can feel more strong and more confident, so it's easier for us. But nevertheless, we're also feeling vulnerable. And here, when policies of our Western allies regarding Eastern countries, I mentioned, is weak, not principled, or sometimes maybe too complacent. This is also implicitly has to do with our situation. And here we need to act stronger, to look for allies. And this is not easy going sometimes. If I mention Belarus, again, it's not a big secret. It has to do with another challenge, energy supplies, and this nuclear power plant, which built in Belarus. Again, we are mentioning this problem in all international forums and trying to find understanding among our allies, but this is remaining the issue and will remain the issue for foreseeable future. Difficult to say with whom we should talk, maybe not to Belarus anymore, maybe more to Russia, because it's Russian geopolitical project. And again, this explains a lot how difficult sometimes to find common approach among our allies and friends, and how much time needed sometimes. And this is, again, I'd like to mention in the context of our relations with the neighbors, but also regarding the policies regard to the Eastern countries in general. So this fatigue is not acceptable. This fatigue for Ukrainian case is also not acceptable. This fatigue for Belarus also becoming the issue, because it takes too much time for the events which are still developing in Belarus, and no changes whatsoever, as we can see. Well, these people are so courageous and still standing on the streets. I'm happy and proud that we are hosting a leader of opposition, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, and she's very actively providing her international agenda, so speaking up to the leaders of the world, and today she's in Brussels. So this is good, but on the other hand, we see no movements whatsoever from our neighbors, also from their political sponsors in Kremlin. And here again, the situation remains tense, and we will inhabit that for the future, same as it was before. I'd like also to mention one more, the area of tensions, hybrid threats. During conventional war, it was more clear, more clarity, what kind of challenges we are facing, conventional forces in particular, but now these hybrid threats becoming the issue, and more understandable among our allies and friends. So we're paying more attention. We are talking more and more about resilience. And here, Lithuania, but not only Lithuania, all other Baltic states, we know that not from the books how it is important, how we are vulnerable, what could be the damage. And here, not accidentally, in all three of the Baltic states, we have centers of excellence, NATO centers of excellence dealing with these hybrid threats. And this is not accidental, as I said. In Riga, strategic communication, and Estonia, cyber, in Lithuania, energy security. And again, coming back to the history, I remember very well discussions in NATO, with NATO military authorities, how it was difficult to convince our friends and allies that NATO has some role and some task to play in the energy security issue. And that was not as understood by many. And only since 2006, I would say, since summit in Riga, we have taskings in the major NATO documents. And as I said, even Center of Excellence located in Vilnius. So it was really very active, even say proactive role of Lithuania in placing these issues, these tasks into the textbook and taskbook of NATO. And that's definitely very important. The same with regard to the strategic communication. We were among those who convinced our allies and friends that we have to pay more attention, more resources to this issue. And at the beginning, I remember 7 years ago, it was not easy even to convince our colleagues that we have to take this issue very seriously, because the reaction was very strange. There were talks about, well, European censorship or some kind of European propaganda, which is not acceptable. And we tried to say that, no, we should play along the lines of fair play, but nevertheless, this is a weapon. And now more and more understanding among all of us. We even have Center of Strategic Communication in the External Action Service, and we really paying more resources. But again, I have to say, this is by far not compatible to what our opponents do. So in general, these, in addition, cyber, well, I said briefly, center in Tallinn, but we're also specializing in Lithuania in European Union, and trying to specialize, heading rapid reaction teams in PESCO, European Defense Cooperation, having very strong national center although we were not able to win competition to host Center of Excellence for European Union, but our national capacities are really very strong, and by the way, very strong in cooperation also with the United States. And here I see the possibility for us to play a very active, not statistic role in getting closer positions of Europe and United States in taking these challenges, these hybrid threats, and that would be definitely one of the major tasks for overall, not just for Lithuania, but for Europe, in trying to conduct all this business in more serious and more professional level. So briefly, these are the challenges and tensions, what we inhabited from the past, but definitely will be the issue for the future. And I'm looking forward for the comments from other colleagues, how we can address these issues. Once again, thank you very much for being able to talk. My 10 minutes passed. Thank you, Linas.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much for your thoughts and for your service throughout the years at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as in other institutions. And I'm sure that we will be having you on multiple discussions and events in the future as well. Thank you very much. We'll continue with the next panel. Again, I'm terribly sorry. Aš labai atsiprašau dar kartelį kolegų. Our panelists were preparing to be speaking in Lithuanian, but unfortunately, again, as the interpretation is not working due to technical reasons, we have asked them to switch to English. So I'm putting them on the spot, and I'm taking full responsibility for that. Nevertheless, I'm very thankful for all of the panelists who agreed to join us today and to share their thoughts. We have a magnificent group of people, and I would like to introduce them one by one. I'll introduce Ms. Asta Skaisgirytė. She is the Chief Foreign Policy Advisor to the President of Lithuania, as well as we have three chairmen of very important committees at the Lithuanian Parliament. We have Radvilė Morkūnaitė-Mikulėnienė. She is the chairwoman of the European Affairs Committee. We also have Žygimantas Pavilionis, Ambassador Žygimantas Pavilionis, who is a chairman of Foreign Affairs Committee, as well as Laurynas Kasčiūnas, who is now chairing the National Security Committee. As Radvilė Morkūnaitė-Mikulėnienė will have to leave us a bit early, I'll give the floor first to her, then all other speakers will have an opportunity to share their initial insights, and then we will have an opportunity, hopefully, for a Q&A session. So those who are participating with us today, please write your questions or remarks by using Q&A option or a chat option on your Zoom down below. Please do that throughout the whole panel discussion. So now I give the floor to Ms. Radvilė Morkūnaitė-Mikulėnienė.
Sveiki. Hello to everyone. I hope I'm heard.
Yes.
Thank you very much for inviting to this seminar and to have this possibility to talk. My agenda has changed a little bit again, and I'm happy that I would have a possibility to stay a bit longer and to hear the other thoughts of our colleagues. But I think that we all think pretty much alike, and we see those challenges and the current situation pretty much in a similar way. So I think that the starting point from my side would be that we didn't expect exactly 1 year ago that 2020 will be such a year that we had experienced. And I recall watching news, TV news 1 year ago, and this pandemia thing seemed that so far away somewhere on the other side of the world. And we witnessed lots of pandemias in the past decades, and none of those touched the whole world as COVID-19. And I think that it really changed us, it really changed our reality, and it caused lots of tensions and lots of challenges. And one of the things that I would like to tackle, it's not only talking about how we will cope with all financial loss and all the other difficult things that caused this pandemic, but just to put one simple example how society is again divided, and I think that it's a matter of our national security, of European Union's national security in general, and in many other countries as well. I want to stress upon the threats made by so-called anti-vaxxers. And, you know, when we talk about challenges here in Lithuania or in the European Union, how to cope with this COVID-19 and what to do, I think that one of the main issues is the approach of the society. And this is a soil for how shall I say, for different kind of movements to spread their fake news and all kind of fake information. And once again, we feel it. It's not only, you know, when we talk about fake news in the political system or during election campaigns or in some other spheres, but we again face this challenge, how we could cope with this misinformation of our society. It is really sad to witness that in the 21st century we still have doubts about science and all those matters that it is related to it. So this is, I think, it might seem very narrow aspect, but I think this is an example of much broader situation that we are facing in many other questions as regards our security and our well-being. I think that the most important thing talking about foreign affairs is a possibility and agreement to play by the same rules, common international rules that we all agree on. And we have witnessed in the past few years due to how shall I say, decisions made in one or other country that maybe those countries are not willing to participate in the agreements that were made a few years ago. I could appoint the climate change agreement, and I'm as I have been working in the environment sphere for some years, so I'm really happy to see the change in one of the key players in the United States, that there is this willingness to come back to the table and to contribute to the issues that are related to climate change and how we can deal with that. We can talk about agreements in all other aspects, and especially if I may tackle the European Union issues. So in the committee, we will have heated discussions, I'm pretty sure, as regards the migration pact or as regards minimum wage agreement in the European Union. So we have these kind of topics all the time, and I think that what is the most important, to find those dots that unites us, to find the common denominators, and to try to look as less as possible to those issues that divide us. Other thing which is very important, and especially after the elections in the United States, I think we are very happy for American citizens because it was their decision what they elect as a president. And I remember before the elections, some how shall I say, some journalists or leaders of the society were asking, so which president for Lithuania would be more suitable? And I think that the correct answer is that president is chosen by the American citizens, and we will have to work with the president that would be elected. So we are now in this phase, but I think what Lithuanian parliament could do is to have a stronger relations, transatlantic relations. And there are my colleagues in the Foreign Affairs Committee that have suggested some initiatives how we could strengthen it. Maybe they will talk about themselves. So I think that these are some points that I wanted to point out. And my wish would be that Lithuania could have much stronger voice in international structures and in European Union, and talking with United States, having this strategic partnership. So this should be our ambition as an ambition by the state, and the threats and challenges that we are facing. So I tried to mention them, and I think that we have to focus on dealing with threats to security and dealing with how shall I say, finding common ways how to have common agreements and less divisions, because I think that the divisions are not leading to fruitful outcomes and to fruitful results. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Radvilė, for your thoughts and for your vision. I would now like to give the floor to Ms. Asta Skaisgirytė. Again, she's the Chief Foreign Policy Advisor of the President. Ms. Skaisgirytė, please.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Linas. I would like to start by sending the President of Lithuania's best regards to the conference and to you personally. He remembers so well last year when he was the guest speaker at your conference physically at the Palace of the Grand Dukes. Yeah, the pandemic is here, so we are all joining online. And he asked me to convey to the conference participants a few things regarding Lithuanian foreign policy. If we were to name the year 2020 in one word in Lithuanian foreign policy, that would be the year of Belarus. What happened in Belarus was a game changer to us, to the Belarusian society, and to the whole region. So let me start my presentation by the regional aspects, Lithuania in the region, and Lithuanian leadership in promoting democratic processes in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, when things started in Belarus back in August, we can say almost nothing positive. The repressions continues, the use of force, the abuse of human rights. The regime does not want to give up. That's why we need, by we I mean not just Lithuania, the Europeans, we need the long-term strategy for Belarus. A long-term strategy which will encompass all aspects: political, economic, security, culture, history, you name it. And of course, the aim, the goal of such a strategy would be how to help Belarus, how to help Belarusian civil society to win the democratic movement they want to win, and how to avoid the union state between Belarus and Russia to be formed in the near future. That's why we think that the consolidated effort of the Western countries is needed. Well, the Baltic countries and Poland were in the leadership, but of course we would like that others would join, the Nordic countries, Germany and France, and of course United States, United Kingdom, and Canada, because altogether we can do more, and Lithuania can remain the center for Belarusian democracy, democratic society, and those who need political refuge in this situation. Of course, we in this context, we need to maintain sanctions. Sanctions is a tool to punish. Unfortunately, sanctions do not prevent further deaths and further use of force vis-a-vis the protesters in Belarus. I believe today the European Union has the final say in adopting the third package of sanctions for Belarusian regime personalities as well as entities. Entities are also included, and this makes the sanctions more powerful. And of course, there is, as there is a punishment, there must be a positive aspect to what's happening in Belarus, and this positive aspect would be the EU plan for economic encouragement of Belarusian democratic movement. We hope that the European Commission will soon be preparing it, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss it in greater detail. Of course, the challenge in a broader context in the eastern neighborhood is to maintain the Eastern Partnership as an idea. Recent events in Belarus, the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, very complicated situations in Ukraine and Georgia. We have to really rethink Eastern Partnership as a concept and how to proceed it. Well, there is no secret for me to say that Lithuania is a staunch supporter of the European integration and European perspective for Georgia, Ukraine, and Moldova. Second point, security aspect and strategic partnership with the United States. Well, in the current geopolitical situation, we estimate that the Lithuanian security can be assured only and only with NATO and United States. That's why we are perhaps one of the most transatlanticist countries in Europe. Yes, we think that United States is indispensable in assuring Europe's security and defense. And yes, a recent reflection paper prepared by NATO Wise Men and Women Group shows that NATO is still functioning. It's functioning well, despite some ideas of brain dead. No, there is no brain dead NATO. On the contrary, it's a vibrant organization, and we hope that it will be strengthened further on. We are now waiting for the next American administration to take office in January. But in this context, I must say that our security, again, is also to be assured by ourselves. So 2% GDP to defense is not imposed by the United States to other allies. It must be within ourselves that we deem it necessary to do. And in the Lithuanian case, we think that 2% is a minimum. We should strive for 2.5% by year 2030. And of course, more United States military presence in the region and in Lithuania, presence, boots on the ground, is very much welcome. In this context, I must say that our strategic adversaries, like Russia or China, have to be dealt within the transatlantic community. Concerning Russia, there is nothing new, perhaps. We were content that a recent European Council just made the sanctions roll over because of non-implementation of Minsk agreements. No country contested it. Russian ideology recently plays another card, that of historical revisionism, and it's appalling how they are trying to revise history, especially the Second World War and the post Second World War situation. It's a real ideological challenge. Recently, they resumed legal case against the Lithuanian judges who participated in the so-called January the 13th case. And again, the approach to history and to recent history, like 30 years ago, is not acceptable. Regarding China, China is now in every document on our foreign affairs, and I must say that again we have to coordinate our approach towards China with other transatlantic allies, especially be vigilant and careful regarding technological aspects, artificial intelligence, 5G, also possible investment in strategic sectors. I would say that Lithuanian law on strategic investment is very clear. Every investment in strategic sectors and otherwise have to be have to comply to transatlantic criteria and not otherwise. And of course, human rights and rule of law and democracy are the rules for everybody, and we make no difference whether it is in Belarus or in China. We clearly proclaim for compliance to the democratic standards by all countries. One more aspect for Lithuania is effective participation in EU policies, EU common and foreign and defense policy, but of course in all other policies like strengthening single market innovations, climate change. We want to be more present in EU institutions, I mean Lithuanian nationals, and we are also starting to think about the year 2027, when Lithuania will preside the European Union. It seems to be far away, seven years, but we know that time passes very quickly, and in order to have a successful presidency, we have to prepare now. Last but not least, Astravets nuclear power plant. Indeed, we made efforts to make the case of Astravets known in the European Union, and the recent European Council adopted conclusions that tasked the European Commission to examine the ways how to ban unsafe electricity from the third countries, again unsafe nuclear facilities to enter EU market. This is, in our view, it's the right response to Astravets with all the problems that it faces in nuclear and environmental safety. Another part of the energy security is speedy synchronization of Lithuanian, Latvian, and Estonian electricity grid with continental Europe. So the president clearly states that he wants this project to be accomplished much faster than 2025, which is a deadline. And again, for that, we have to consolidate our efforts among our three Baltic states as well as Poland to accomplish it. So that's a short overview for me. Thank you very much, Linas, once again for convening this conference. Thank you. It was a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for passing the greetings from the Excellency President of Lithuania. We hope to be able to host him in future live events as soon as the pandemic is controlled. Thank you very much again. Then now I would like to give the floor to Ambassador Žygimantas Pavilionis, who is the new chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee at the Parliament. Mr. Pavilionis, can you hear us? Because
okay, do you hear me well?
yes, we can hear you now. No sound at the moment, Ambassador. Can you hear us, Ambassador? Okay, as we are trying to look at the issue with Mr. Pavilionis and his connection, I would pass the floor to Mr. Laurynas Kasčiūnas, the chairman of the National Security Committee. Hopefully he can hear us well and can start speaking now. Mr. Kasčiūnas?
Good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can
Thank
hear
you very much. Linas, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad what my idea to start the annual conference of Eastern Europe Studies Center on Foreign Security Policy 5 years ago is very successful, and the Eastern Europe Studies Center keeps great tradition. So I'm also very glad to present you some ideas from my point of view as a head of National Security and Defense Committee. We have now started a revision of national security strategy of Lithuania. It's our first move. It's first idea, my idea as a new head of a committee. And now we have a pool of our academics, of our analysts from different universities, think tanks, and we are preparing now food for thought for our governmental branch of power in Lithuania to I would say to check and to make better our national security strategy and to adapt it to the challenges of today. What I would like to say, not repeating our participants. First of all, what is in the program of a new government is the idea of the whole of society security concept. A lot of analysts in different Western countries, they have broad understanding what in order to stabilize the security situation in the Baltic Sea region and deter Russia from possible aggressive actions, NATO or other Western countries need to solve such problems as regional conventional forces asymmetry in the region and differences in the reaction time, so-called distance time gap problem. That's why the main burden of deterrence might, in some period of time, fall on the Baltics' shoulders themselves, as a consequence bringing back to life the total or comprehensive defense concept. So that is why we have in Lithuania the plan how our armed forces, together with allies, will defend our country, but we still have to improve how include the whole of society. So I would say this old and new model concept of whole of society security concept will be one of the top priorities in our agenda. And it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge because we need to have civic resistance plan and strategy. And last year, we in the committee asked our government to prepare such kind of strategy, such kind of concept for strategy. And I would say what next year we will have big discussion on this topic. So the main idea is how to increase resilience of our society and how to include society in defense, in the defense plan. The sociological survey shows that about 300,000 Lithuanian people want to find their place and their role in Lithuanian defense plan. And I'm talking about NGO, about businesses, about rifleman union and other structures of our society. Of course, it's, as I said, it's a big challenge because Western societies have now a lot of internal tensions. I would say the so-called cultural wars. We know what's happening in the United States. These trends also are alive in Western Europe. So national identity, national narrative, and how to control these cultural wars, I would say it also will be the case of creating this whole of society security concept. So I would say we will be keeping you informed how we are going and improving to this direction. Talking about some geopolitical challenges and possibilities, we all know what is a challenge for Lithuania from Russia side. I will not talk the same thing, but of course China is also on the agenda, as a senior advisor of the president said, and I will quote very interesting, I would say I have very interesting quote, but Russia is like a hurricane and China is like climate change. So it's the formula how people understand how Russia affects our security and how China can affect our security. And when we are talking about China, of course, we need to have red lines, clear strategy of our country on how open we will be to the China investment in our strategic sectors. First of all, of course, transportation sector. And also we should solve problem of unreliable technology providers. And I agree with the idea that all technology providers in our strategic sectors should apply to the transatlantic security criteria. And I'm sure we will have great discussions where we should draw this red line. Talking about possibilities, geopolitical possibilities, of course, I'm very happy to have Germany-led international NATO battalion in Lithuania. It shows fantastic stage of relations between Lithuania and Germany. I think it's, I would say it's best in the history relations model. And of course, we would like to continue. But of course, at the same time, we need to have some new possibilities in the relations with the United States of America. And not because of change of president in the United States, but because of our security needs. And here I would like to say, of course, our idea is to have permanent or persistent military presence of United States in our region, in the Baltic States, and also in Lithuania. But here we should, of course, need to have real analysis how it relates to the new United States military strategy, which is based on flexible response, not based by deploying military forces in some regions permanently, but to have possibility to respond flexible. And of course, we need to find some formula how to fit in this strategy of United States. And the issues here also to make a lot of homeworks need to do. First of all, even if United States will say, okay, we will coming to you next year, we need to have better and better host nation support capabilities. So improvement of our military infrastructure in Lithuania, in the Baltic Sea, is also should be and will be a very important priority of our activities. So of course, we have great news. What in United States Congress agenda we have so-called idea of Baltic Assistance Initiative, which will continue support security of Baltic states, and of course we should do everything possible to make this initiative reality. And we also already have a plan in the parliament for this parliamentary democracy, together with Žygimantas Pavilionis and our speaker, to achieve this goal. Talking about our geopolitical challenges, of course, I will mention Belarus, and I will agree with the idea what Mr. Linkevičius said. What we should decide: do we have this? We have with Belarus 700 kilometers border, and the big question is: this border is still with Belarus, or is it a border already de facto with Russian Federation? And of course, we will monitor the military movement of Russia and this military integration between Russia and Belarus, or I would say, so I will call the absorption of Belarus, which can change the status quo dramatically in our region. So this, I think, I will stop here. Thank you very much once again, and I will probably, if we will have questions, I can answer it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your overview, Mr. Kasčiūnas. And now I see that Ambassador Žygimantas Pavilionis is with us again, and hopefully we will be able to hear him now. Ambassador?
Okay, do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, sorry for some technical issues. And also sorry that I will have to leave in 10 minutes. I have another video call with my colleague from Canada. But I think Laurynas and other friends will answer all the questions that will be given afterwards. So again, thank you for this event. Thank you, Linas Kojala. Thank you, Linas Linkevičius. Thank you, Professor Asta Petraitytė-Briedienė, who was a frequent visitor in Washington during my term, and we, well, together we tried to contribute to different books about the legacy of Lozoraitis. Thank you, Asta Skaisgirytė, and all other friends of Lithuanian foreign policy. So just few remarks, not to repeat everything what is said. Well, I think Lozoraitis inspired us all to continue our foreign policy based on values, democracy, and international law. Yeah, and we try to make it in current circumstances. The mere fact that we will soon commemorate the 30th anniversary of January 13 events, that was a turning point in destroying the Soviet Empire. And we will continue with this new government and new coalition. Well, some people call it Europe whole and free agenda. First of all, talking about EU level, this is associated trio, as we say, Georgia, Ukraine, Moldova. Let's not forget that we started from high note this program and strategy, including Lithuanian presidency in 2013, but somehow during last Eastern Partnership Summit, the ambition fell quite deep. No conclusions agreed between EU countries, and as fairly Asta Skaisgirytė noted, we have to think about incoming Lithuanian presidency in 2027, including Polish presidency in 25. And the goal is very clear. We want to get membership perspective for those countries. And it means big fight, big preparation, not only external, creating coalitions for this goal, but also hard work inside those countries, as well as our own preparation for this work. If we are serious enough, it means we have to strengthen our administrative, financial, human and other resources directed to those countries. I still remember glorious years, 10 years ago in Moldova, when we had teams of Lithuanians working in each institution. I remember the same what we did in Georgia and Ukraine, but the situation changed. Now we have new leaders, new hopes, new problems. And if we are serious enough to attain those goals, we have to work very hard. And I think we will do it with new government working together with the president. So that's on the EU side. On NATO side, the same. Well, we've been very ambitious, but I remember the failure of Bucharest NATO summit, and two countries, Ukraine and Georgia, still somewhere in the waiting room. So what shall we do to make this dream of membership action plan to be fulfilled? It means, again, hard work, outside, inside, and also be very clear with those countries, especially now looking to current agenda, reminding them that political criteria, rule of law, democracy, respect for opposition, media freedom, all other democratic credentials, they will be very seriously analyzed by our Western partners, and they have to be serious, including even alliance with, I would say, CFSP policy or declarations of the West. The mere fact that Georgia or former Moldovan president never supported the processes of democracy in Belarus makes me sad. We have to work with them seriously. Here you come, of course, to Belarusian question. To be very honest and clear, well, I'm not a diplomat anymore, just a politician. We have to make this change happen. This is a historic opportunity that this nation deserves, not only for the last 30 years, but maybe for 100 or 300 years. We have to help this nation to have the same rights that we have in Lithuania. And it means hard work. It means if we're serious about becoming democracy hub, helping this country, we have to be serious, first of all, with ourselves, with our rules in Lithuania, with our instruments we have, and then we will be able to attain the most important goal, new democratic elections observed by OSCE. This has to be done, and we will do it at parliamentary level as much as we can with different instruments, including different conferences we've been arranging. But for this, we have to unite EU and transatlantic family behind us. And if you carefully read the new government's program, well, I think that was never said in any government program. We will be very European government or coalition. It means we will strengthen as much as we can our bilateral relations with countries, as we say, some, from the core of European Union, Berlin, Paris, not only Poland, will be very important points on our agenda. Linas Kojala specifically asked also about the Baltic States. Well, in this regard, we have to do a lot. And in addition, in our relations, honestly, with Latvia. I don't think that, Latvian response on a lot of issues that are important for us was satisfactory, but it's not Latvian fault. It's also our fault that we didn't invest into bilateral relations with this country. So in new government's program, you have interesting ideas, for example, creating bilateral parliamentary assembly with this country. This kind of assembly we have with Poland. But with Baltics, we have just trilateral assembly. Why don't we have a bilateral as well? Why don't we invest into that friendship with our Latvian brothers and sisters at all levels? Create political friendships that could last, that could change the landscape on most of the important issues we discuss. And of course, United States of America. Well, being also former ambassador there, I was always complaining that, well, for some reasons, we invest so much in Brussels, and that's good. We have to, including our bilateral relations with the EU member states. But don't forget that Lithuanians in United States are known from 18th century. You know, the village where President Biden was born is the same village where, you know, relatives of former Minister Olekas are being born. So we know each other from 18th century. Lithuanians are very high on American agenda. 1/3 or 1/4 of nation is living there. We are not using it, and this link is dying out. We have new generation of Americans who is coming on the blocks, and we have to invest seriously. Until now, the serious investment in America is done only by the Foreign Ministry, Defense Ministry, Agricultural Ministry, and Ministry of Culture, a bit by Ministry of Economy. But honestly, all ministries should invest. I'm very happy, by the way, that today the decision was done in the Parliament that Parliament itself will invest into its relations with Congress by sending one member of our personnel to work on that issue. But you know, with Congress, United Kingdom is working by 100 people. Chinese have an embassy of 3,000 people in Washington, D.C., the same as Russians. We have 20. It's shame. If we're serious enough, it has to double, maybe even triple, maybe it's too romantic, but it has to be taken seriously, knowing that America is 2/3 of our security, and maybe energy security, and maybe future economy and innovation. So we will be, of course, working hard in this direction. So to sum up, I have, well, to say that I would say we have a dream team of foreign policy today in the government and in the parliament. And I think we can restore the voice of foreign policy of Lithuania seriously enough in the region, in Europe, and in transatlantic family, working hand in hand with our president. And I think we will be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your thoughts. And I would like to continue on the same line that you've mentioned and ask maybe Asta Skaisgirytė and Laurynas Kasčiūnas also to maybe share your thoughts on the Baltic cooperation on multiple issues, including Belarus, but we also have energy issues. We have common security agenda probably on NATO and also in the EU on multiple issues. So how would you evaluate the current situation in terms of how Baltic countries cooperate among each other, and maybe include other Nordic countries, because we also have formats with other Nordic countries as well. Maybe Asta, could you share some thoughts on that? Ms. Skaisgirytė, can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear Ambassador Skaisgirytė, unfortunately. Maybe Laurynas Kasčiūnas would like to add on this.
Okay, thank you, Linas. Yes, of course. You know, our interest in framework of NATO, in the EU, it's similar. It's almost one common interest, like Baltic national interest. Of course, our contingency plans, everything is linked to each other. So, of course, here we have one voice, no question about it. More challenge, of course, as you all know, it's related to Belarus, and especially with Astravets nuclear power plant, and it's a question of electricity produced in Astravets nuclear power plant for entering into the Baltic market, and we have here differences and quite significant. Still, we hope we can manage it. We still differently interpret what's happening with the electricity from Astravets nuclear power plant. Latvia is more, I would say, what status quo is enough. We are saying, look, all I would say, data shows what still is electricity entering the Baltic States, but not only entering and consume it somehow. And of course, the debates on a common position on Astravets will still be the question which challenge for our relations. And I hope we will manage it. I hope our new government will do it. But we'll see. We'll see. It is a challenge still. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, the time is really flying, and as we started a bit later, I think we'll have to end now with the participation of the speakers and with the panel. Thank you very much all for joining us. And just one last thing before you all leave. This is an important day, not only in terms of the event that we're having, but also in terms of a publication. I'm just now sharing a screen with the newest edition of Lithuanian Foreign Policy Review, which is an annual journal dedicated to discussion on multiple geopolitical issues related to Lithuanian security and to the region. And the newest publication is out today. We are proud that it includes thoughts and articles from people like President Adamkus, President Alexander Kwasniewski, also Nobel Prize winner Robert Schiller, as well as multiple international and Lithuanian experts who discuss Lithuanian foreign policy, who look at Russian foreign policy, who also debate US and its future role, Germany and its importance for the Baltic Sea region, as well as other issues. So we will send the links to all of the participants. You are able to get the PDFs of the newest edition, as well as I'm sure that multiple of you will receive also printed versions for your convenience. So thank you very much. I think this event today partly resembled the whole year. We had some technical issues, we had some glitches, but in the end, I think the content didn't suffer. And while we're still trying to tackle the problem of the pandemic, I'm sure we will be able to do it in the nearest future. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your insights for the panelists and all those who listened in, and see you next year. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.